Hello and welcome to In Summary. Today we'll be looking at the dramatic scenes that unfolded in Paris following PSG's historic Champions League victory. What started as joyous celebrations quickly turned violent, leading to hundreds of arrests and widespread clashes between fans and police. In this episode, we'll break down what happened, why tensions boiled over, and the impact of this night of chaos on the city. Following Paris Saint-Germain's historic 5-0 victory over Inter Milan in the UEFA Champions League final on May the 31st, what began as jubilant celebration rapidly developed into widespread chaos and violence across Paris and other parts of France. It was PSG's first ever Champions League title, a moment many fans had long awaited, and the atmosphere initially was euphoric. Tens of thousands of supporters flooded the streets, particularly around iconic areas, to celebrate the monumental win. However, by late evening, the celebratory energy spiraled into lawlessness. Large groups of individuals began engaging in destructive behaviour, vandalising public and private property, setting vehicles ablaze, looting stores, and hurling projectiles at police. Authorities described the scene as resembling urban warfare. As tensions escalated, riot police were deployed in large numbers. Over 5,400 officers were mobilised across the city. They used water cannons and tear gas in attempts to disperse the unruly crowds. The situation deteriorated further into the early morning hours. Makeshift barricades were constructed in parts of the city, and fires dotted several neighbourhoods. Looters ransacked shops, some targeting luxury boutiques and electronic stores. In multiple areas, fireworks were fired horizontally at police lines. Bus shelters and street furniture were destroyed, and several metro stations had to be shut down for safety reasons. Tragically, the unrest resulted in the deaths of 2 individuals. A 17-year-old boy was fatally stabbed in the town of Dax during an altercation reportedly tied to the celebrations. In central Paris, a 23-year-old man was struck and killed by a vehicle while riding a scooter amid the street chaos. In addition to these deaths, at least 192 people were injured during the night's events, including 22 police officers and 7 firefighters. Law enforcement made a staggering number of arrests, more than 500 nationwide and 491 occurring in Paris alone. The police prefecture later described the violence as premeditated, suggesting that some individuals came not to celebrate, but to take advantage of the situation for violent and criminal purposes. Authorities strongly condemned the violence. French President Emmanuel Macron made a public statement calling the events absolutely unacceptable, emphasising that celebrating a football victory must never come at the cost of public safety or the rule of law. Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau was even more forceful in his rhetoric, referring to those responsible as barbarians. This language drew criticism from public figures on the left, who accused Retailleau of using inflammatory and racially charged language. Meanwhile, back in Munich, where the final was played, PSG fans also caused disturbances. Following the final whistle, thousands of travelling fans stormed the pitch. In the process, sections of the turf were ripped up as souvenirs, forcing UEFA to initiate emergency repairs in preparation for upcoming Nations League matches. UEFA also announced financial penalties for PSG due to the damage caused by their supporters. Despite the violence and tension, PSG proceeded with a victory parade on the Champs-Élysées the next day. The event was heavily policed but remained relatively peaceful. President Macron and several high-ranking officials praised the team's achievement and took part in the celebrations. The club's president expressed gratitude to current and former players who were instrumental in the club's development and its eventual European triumph. The chaotic scenes in Paris reignited debates over the societal effects of major football victories and the controversial nature of state-backed clubs. PSG, owned by Qatar's sovereign wealth fund, has long been viewed as a symbol of sports washing, a term used to describe efforts by states to improve their international image through investment in sport. Critics argued that the celebration's violent fallout highlighted the tensions between such triumphs and the challenges of fan behaviour, inequality and urban unrest. In the days after the riots, local authorities began assessing the damage, which ran into millions of euros. Business owners called for stronger protections, while government officials pledged to review crowd control and emergency response strategies for future major sporting events. The celebrations meant to mark a historic sporting milestone had instead laid bare deep-seated issues involving policing, youth discontent, and the social responsibilities of major clubs and city authorities.